Hello, friends and fiends. To celebrate Black Cat Awareness Month, we are offering author readings from Dancing in the Shadows, a tribute to Anne Rice. All proceeds from sales of the book go directly to the Animal Rescue League of New Orleans. Sit back and enjoy the readings.
Hey everyone, this is C.W. Blackwell. I'm a writer from Santa Cruz, California, mostly crime fiction and horror. I was lucky enough to have a story in the recent anthology, Dancing in the Shadows, which was a tribute to the late Anne Rice. The book also benefited the Animal Rescue of New Orleans, which is a great organization. As you know, as weather events are getting worse and worse, animals are really under a lot of pressure, and it's great to have organizations like ARNO looking out for them in that manner. What I wanted to do is today read a little bit of an excerpt in the middle of a scene from the middle of my story. The story is called House of Blood and Stone, and this is one of the stories that appeared in the anthology Dancing in the Shadows. We agreed to visit on the first weekend of spring. By then, the accounts had settled, and it was difficult to feel anything but grateful for my uncle's bequeathment. Still, childhood memories of Mason House found their way into my dreams. Dreams of grandfather lighting the great fireplace, of mother baking Christmas breads in the wood fire stove, of the rough stone walls awash in the many sunsets of youth. We pulled off the highway at Geyserville and drove west toward the ocean, along acres of gnarled Chardonnay vines terraced into the hillsides. The sun shone brightly over the coastal valleys, and sour grass yellowed the fields. A storm had passed through the day before, and as we entered a towering redwood forest, the headlights beamed over the slick, damp road. "Did Uncle Lyman live in a swamp?" asked Mary Joy. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror, tired eyes blinking at the passing trees. "No, not a swamp," I said. "The house is further up the road." "Why does it look so swampy?" "The redwoods absorb the fog from the air," said Elaine. "It keeps the forest cool and lush." "Is Uncle Lyman's house made of redwood trees?" "No, it's made of limestone from a local quarry." My grandfather spoke of this fact often, finding poetic value in the house being sculpted from the very landscape on which it stood. "That's why we call it Mason House." "Can you see it from the road?" "Yes, and when you see it, you'll know." The road veered north beyond the forest and along sprawling coastal vistas. The Pacific Ocean lay blue-gray and wide enough to see the faint curvature of the horizon. After another mile, a clearing emerged amid a grove of eucalyptus. And there stood the sand-colored house, with windows brightly casting back the low afternoon sun, gray smoke piping from the chimneys. "I see it," exclaimed Mary Joy. "That's it, isn't it?" "Yes, sweetie. I knew you'd spot it." We pulled onto the rock road and climbed the slight grade to the property. The house loomed larger, stones crackling under the tires. We entered the circular driveway amid a cloud of road dust, and as the air cleared, Orville Sewell appeared on the front steps. His expression was one of alarm. I lowered the window as he hurried quickly toward the car. "There's been an accident," he said gravely. He lacked his typical poise, hair disheveled. "I think it's best if your family waits in the car." "Oh, I'm sorry," I said. "Is everyone okay?" "I'm afraid not. It's quite serious." He gazed out to the main road as if expecting to see something there. "There's an ambulance coming." "Is there anything we can do?" He looked frantically into the car as if counting heads. Well, yes, in fact, there is. Follow me if you're willing. I kissed Elaine and gave a quick shrug, then stepped out onto the driveway. The smell of sea air and chimney smoke brought a rush of old memories. Sewell urged me onward, and I followed him around the back of the house where a man lay sprawled and bleeding in the well of a large ornate fountain. He's too heavy for me to lift alone. Is he? Sewell nodded grimly, and his mouth made a tight line. We took the man under the arms and heaved him over the rim of the fountain, wet clothes only adding to the weight of him. Once he lay on his back, I took a quick step in retreat, covered my mouth with my hand. The man's face was cruelly disfigured, jaw broken so severely that it nearly separated from the skull. He gaped awkwardly at the sky, eyes fixed and bloodshot. Our house manager, Mr. Bronson, said Sewell. He had a handkerchief out, blotting the sweat on his forehead. He fell from the roof trying to seal a leak. I glanced at the terracotta rooftop, green-like and growing at the leeward side. The house stood 3 stories tall, perhaps not high enough to be fatal with certainty, but the fountain had added a deadly element. The phone rang, a bell-like clatter that gave us both a start. It's probably the paramedics, said Sewell. They always need extra directions. I should have saved them the trouble and sent for the county coroner instead. He disappeared through a back door, leaving me alone with Mr. Bronson. Blood and water pooled around the body. His shirt had partially torn in the fall, and I noticed a cluster of scabs and abscesses in the crook of his elbow and down his forearm like you'd expect from an intravenous drug addict. There was a slip of paper tucked into the breast pocket as well. I quickly scanned the back of the house. The phone had stopped ringing. I could hear Sewell's voice faintly from inside. I crouched beside the body and slipped the paper from the breast pocket. It was soggy and delicate, and the writing was bleeding through. Carefully, I peeled back the fold. Abandon all hope, it said. I returned the paper and glanced once more at the rooftop. He must have been aiming for the fountain. That's my story, everybody, at least an excerpt of it. I encourage you to read the anthology and please continue to support the Animal Rescue of New Orleans, ARNO. It's a great organization. Thanks, everybody.